Hello, hello. Okay, so we are going to be moving forward from the pioneers coming across, making it to Utah. And now we're going to talk about where they're settling and why. Most of the time, we take this a lot slower. We do some fun activities. We just don't have time for that in this kind of setup in our weird quarantine setup. So that is going to be part of your challenge activity this week. Is the activity we normally do in class will be part of your challenge activity. So you can do that. It's a really fun one. You get to make your own game. So keep that in mind. Take a look at that on your discussion board, and we're going to move forward with actual settlement. While we go through this, I would suggest taking some notes. We're going to be talking about 4 main reasons of settlements and examples of each of them. There's going to be a little quiz after. That's probably what you're going to see on there. So make sure that you are paying attention to those. Take a couple of notes for yourself and then go ahead and go through those. Okay, so when we're talking about this, our reasons for settlement, the very, very first reason, well, let me back up. When we're talking about reasons for settlement, we're talking about why did people move to where they moved to? Why did they start a town where they decided to do that at? And some of the reason is they were told to go there and do that. But why? Why were they told to go there? Why did people come up to Cache Valley? Why did people go down to St. George? Why are people moving where they're moving to? Because it is not random. So let's start off. The first one is because of trading posts. Trading posts is like Mormon Station in Carson Valley, Nevada. What it is it's a temporary gathering place for converts who are making their way to California. So at this point, not all of the pioneers are staying in Utah. Utah is really new, really fresh, and a lot of people don't want to stay here for that. So they have the choice to go to California. California is a lot more established. So we are going to move forward and help them get there. What I like to have you guys think of when you're thinking about these trading posts, it's like a gas station. So today we don't have trading posts. Today we have a gas station. Gas stations are somewhere where you can go, get what you need, refuel, get refreshed, go to the bathroom, rest a little bit, and then move on. If you have ever been to a scout camp, they still have trading posts there. That's what they call them at scout camps. And they have like soda and candy and trail mix and pocket knives and all of these things that you could potentially need. So when people are coming across in their wagons and in their handcarts and they're looking to go to California, but they've used all their sugar, do they want more sugar? Absolutely they do. That's where they get it from. So this is where Fort Bridger comes in. Fort Bridger is a trading post that they bought from Jim Bridger. Mormon Station in Carson Valley, Nevada. There's a bunch of them. Significant stopping spots where they can stop, rest their animals, do all of those things. Okay, so this is the first reason. Places that are easy for people to stop and rest before moving on. Okay, the next reason is to produce goods. They're moving to a very harsh climate that people have just bypassed up until this point, completely ignored, gone through it like it was just junk, and then moved on to California or Oregon or Washington. No one's bothered to stay here. When they're staying here, they want to be completely independent. So we have to remember that the Mormons they're used to being kicked out of places, right? They were kicked out of New York. They were kicked out of Kirtland. They're kicked out of Missouri. They're kicked out of Nauvoo, and in very cruel and mean ways. So they do not want to depend on anybody for anything. They're just bound and determined to be super completely independent. That way, if someone tries to hurt them by cutting off supplies, it's really not going to hurt them because they have it. So an example of that, in Cedar City, they produced iron, and we're talking like iron is in the mineral, not iron like iron that's used in metal to build buildings. Okay, so like the mineral. Another example is in St. George, people settled there because it's in the right sort of climate that they can make cotton and they can make flax. So cotton is typically grown in like the southern states. So when you think about the Civil War, the southern states where it's warm, where it has a really long growing season, that's where cotton does really well at. So St. George has that really desert warm climate too. That's why they settled in St. George, was to do these things. So they're sending people to places very strategically in environments that will be conducive to growing what they need to survive. Okay, that's our second reason. The third reason is missions. Mormons are very, very religious, very centered on sharing that. They sent out missionaries before they even left Kirtland. They were sending out missionaries to teach people and convert them and bring them back into their fold and to move to them so that they can have the same religion. Okay, at this point, it is mostly for the Native Americans. They're like, hey, this Book of Mormon talks about Native people in America and in all of the Americas. This is your ancestors. Don't you love it? Don't you want to come join our religion? That's who they're going after. They were just convinced that it would just be the easiest conversion going with these Native Americans. It wasn't always, but a lot did. We're not going to have a lot of time to talk about the Bear River Massacre. That's not one that we'll talk about. But the Shoshone, which live in the same area that we are, they were massacred. After the massacre, the ones who survived, almost all of them converted, and they actually helped build the temple in Logan and practice Mormonism. So there's a lot of that. Okay. Our example for this. Vegas. Las Vegas is not what you think of when you think of this glorious, holy missionary town, right? Kind of the opposite. Vegas has this really big reputation for being Sin City. That is legit the nickname of this place, Sin City. Now, in all fairness, Vegas is a lot bigger than just the strip where all the hotels are and where all the casinos are. And there is a lot of people there who still are religious, but they have this funny thing. So it's really funny to me that the example for a mission town, one place that was settled specifically for Mormon missions, is Las Vegas, Nevada. But there it is. Okay, so that's our third reason, is mission. So we have the first reason is trading post, then to produce goods, then missions, and our fourth one is agriculture. We live in a very agricultural society here in Cache Valley. Especially all the cities that go here to South Cache is very agricultural based. This is the town's main occupation. I want you to think about your neighborhood, your city. What do you grow there? What do we grow here in Cache Valley? We grow a lot of wheat, barley, grain, all of that stuff. Corn, you see a lot of corn. I could be saying some of this wrong because I'm not a farmer, but I know a lot of you guys work on farms, have family farms, that kind of stuff, so you would know a lot as well. All right, an example of this is anything that you see grown in fields, okay? So you could put corn, you can put wheat, you can put barley, you can put grain. I don't care, any of those work. Anything that is grown by farmers, like full-time farmers here in the valley, is fair game. Okay, so those are the 4 reasons for settlement. The next thing that we're going to talk about is how towns settled. So it's very specific how Mormon towns are actually formed. So like the actual layout of these Mormon towns, they have patterns to them. They are built all extremely similar, and it is based off of this idea Joseph Smith had clear back in Nauvoo. Okay, first thing is none of them, let me back up. If you go back to the Midwest, okay, there's fields and fields for days. It feels like you don't ever see anyone. Every once in a while, you'll see a little farmhouse pop up. And these people don't live by anyone else. They're very secluded. They live in the middle of their land, and they're not close to anyone. Excuse me. That is not what these guys want. They want to live close together in towns. They don't want to live far apart from each other. They want to be able to get together with their neighbors. They want to be able to worship together. They want to be able to talk together. They want to be able to see each other. They want to be able to protect each other too, because they're in this great big foreign place that no one's ever lived in before. So they want their houses to be close together. So the number one, there's going to be 5 elements to these communities we're going to talk about. So the first one is that they're going to have all of their homes together in town. So they're not necessarily going to build their house separate out in the middle of all of their property to be secluded. They're going to have their house in town and then go to their land to farm and to do those things. Okay, next up, their streets are really, really wide. That's what that picture is that you're looking down there at the bottom at. They wanted them to be wide enough. Brigham Young's big thing is he wanted a team of horses to be able to make a U-turn in the street without having to go around the block. If any of you have ever been back east, like Boston is a really good example because Boston has obviously been around for a long, long, long time. Most of Boston's streets are one-way streets because they were so small to begin with that there's no way that you could have two directions of cars going in it. That setup to make horses be able to do a U-turn has made it really incredibly easy for towns to develop into two-way car streets. So very rarely do you have little teeny tiny skinny roads here in Utah. Okay, next they have a square in the middle of town. And by the square in the middle of town, and I want you to think of the town you live in. In the middle of town, typically there is a church, there is a park, a school, a city office, a post office. All of those city office places, all of those community places are going to be in the middle. In Logan, think Center and Main Street. That's where the Tabernacle is. There's the Tabernacle right there. There's the courthouse right there. There is all the shops right there. There is all sorts of things right there in the center of town. That's what that town square is. Okay. Farmlands around the city. That's the next one. Everyone lives in the middle, and then all on the outside is farmlands. Okay. Think about where you live. That is still how it's set up. It's a little harder to see nowadays just because a lot of those old farms are starting to sell their land to develop it into houses. That's fine. This is still how it was set up. Okay, and then the last one that's really unusual for anywhere outside of Utah but makes total sense to us is this grid pattern. If you go back east, you're going to be like 123 Maple Street. And you're going to go, okay, where in the world is Maple Street? Well, Maple Street is just past Elm Street and just past Chokecherry Lane. You're like, okay, that doesn't help me. Where is this at? What's really nice is you can, unless you have a county address because that gets a little wonky, but you can go from Main Street, Center Street, maybe you have like a State Street instead of one of those, but you can count your blocks east and west, north and south, and you can pretty much figure out anyone's address. You'll think that when you start to drive and you have to start finding places. Okay, so those are your 5 patterns of settlement. Couple of things next. Polygamy is something that is started and that has been here in Utah since the beginning. Okay, polygamy literally is meaning having more than one wife. Polygamy is a big stinking deal. So we're going to talk a lot about it.